Hello and welcome to another Royal Reviewer live weekly chat. And oh my god, I say this every week, but what a voluptuous royal week it's been, what with the Spanish state visit and everything going on. So without further ado, I will go and find the chat window, the live chat window, which is the one that you can see. The format is exactly the same every single week. Just say hi. Even if you haven't got a question, just say hello. I do like people just to say hi. If you do have a question about anything royal related, please put that to me. I will try and get to you as soon as possible. Because the chat has been growing popular and more popular week by week, I may not be able to get to your question. Sometimes it's quite hard to keep up. So if it is really, really important, copy and paste your question before you post it, and then post it again, and I'll probably get to it eventually. And my chat window, like I said in the previous weeks, has changed. It's only a small, tiny chat window now. YouTube kind of tampered with the chat window, so I can only see your comments very small. So do excuse me if I do miss some. Kyle Pereira, hello to you, has come with the first question, but I'll get to that in a moment. I'll do some hellos first. So hello to Nina, who says it's been an exciting week for the Royals. It has indeed. Hello to Chris. Hello to Betsy from New York City. Hello to Emily Windsor Cragg, who says, have I had a good week? Yes, I have, thank you, and I hope you have too. James Medford says hello. Van Argyle says hi, Elliot, and hello everyone. It's 2 p.m. here in Victoria, British Columbia in Canada. Fairly warm, but not blistering hot, thank goodness. It's sure been another very busy royal week. It has. And you're saying you don't know how the Queen does it. Well, she is phenomenal, and perhaps we'll talk about that a bit later. Jamie's saying, hope you've had a really good week. Betsy's saying, I look good. Thank you. I'm wearing one of my royal-inspired Queen Ascot colours today with the flower basket brooch, if you're wondering. Hello to Steve, and hello to H.A. Bracken. And the first question was from Kyle, and he got in there really quick. And he said, can a non-royal be crowned king instead of the conventional royal bloodline? Well, in modern days, I would probably say it's very unlikely to happen. But if you go back way into history, the crowns and kingdoms were won and lost in battle. So basically, if you had the biggest and best army, you could technically win the crown. So yes, in theory, a non-royal can be crowned king, but you need a very, very big army and a huge following. And that's my answer for that one. So if you want to be king or queen, get yourself an army. Loretta says, good evening, Elliot. You're looking great. Thank you. And hello to you too. Candice is saying you look so spiffy once again. Love the bow tie. Thank you very much. And Betsy says, what did you think of Catherine wearing the Queen's necklace at the state dinner? Yes, well, let's get straight onto the Spanish state visit 2017. That was top of my list anyway. So much went on, and it was a phenomenal success. Basically, there hasn't been a Spanish state visit since the early 80s, so it was long overdue. A big topic of conversation, of course, between politicians was the issue of Gibraltar. And that was mentioned briefly by King Felipe. Now, one thing that I did want to know, and I'm not entirely sure to be fair, is King Felipe pronounced Felipe or Philippe? Felipe or Philippe? I did find a YouTube video where it was mentioned as Felipe, and that was on a newsreel. So I went with Felipe, but if it's Philippe, let me know. Leave a comment. Felipe or Philippe. So Gibraltar was a topic of conversation. It was mentioned in a speech by King Felipe. So let's park that issue, because that's the political side of it. The royal side of it was that it was a tremendous success. All the royals got involved. It was Prince Harry's first kind of involvement in a state visit. He was officially at the state dinner, at the state banquet, should I say, held at Buckingham Palace. Catherine was there, and she was wearing the lovely necklace, which the Queen hasn't worn, again, probably since the early 80s, which was part of the Greville collection. Mrs. Greville left a collection of her jewellery, a box of her jewellery to Queen Mary when she died. It was a bequest from her will. When Queen Mary opened the box, there was just all these jewels. The Greville tiara, which Camilla wears, which is kind of like the honeycomb one, that was actually had a different format originally. But the Greville jewels were dismantled to make the tiara that we see today, the one that Camilla wears. And of course, this necklace, this new necklace that the Duchess of Cambridge was spotted wearing, was part of the Greville suite. So there's a little bit of history, and it looked amazing on Catherine. And I'm really, really, really pleased that she's starting to wear more of the pieces, more of the big, large pieces, and especially ones that we haven't seen for a while from the Royal Vault. She was also spotted wearing Princess Diana, or Diana, Princess of Wales, is pearl earrings, pearl drop earrings, and the Lover's Knot tiara, which is a combination that Diana often wore together, the pearl drop earrings and the tiara. So all in all, I thought it was an amazing display of jewels. Now, in the week, interestingly enough, I was thinking, what will the Queen wear? Will she wear the Burmese ruby, the Girls of Great Britain tiara, the Vladimir? What will she wear? And I actually thought, we haven't seen the aquamarine for ages. So I thought, tentatively, aquamarine. And guess what she was wearing? It was the aquamarine. So I was really happy that I guessed right. And she looked absolutely amazing in the aquamarine suite. Now I'm going to go back to some questions. Ohio says hello from Ohio. So hello to you. Chris says, does Queen Elizabeth think the Rock of Gibraltar belongs to Spain? Of course, we cannot speculate on her own private thoughts. She's renowned for not making them public, so I'm afraid I can't comment on that. But I do know the position of the British government is that it's the will of the people that dictate the future of Gibraltar, and the people of Gibraltar voted previously to remain part of Britain and still express a wish to do so. Linda Crocker, hello to you from Simpsonville. I'm just going up to find some comments. I've missed quite a few. Susan says hello from North Carolina. Hello to you. Mary James says hello from Alabama. Hello to you. Linda Shaw says hi. James says, why was the King and Queen of Spain not met at the airport by a royal? That's because when they arrived, it wasn't the official start of the visit. The official start was the following day. So basically, they just arrived. They were greeted by officials, but not any member of the royal family, because the official start was the following day. So they stayed overnight in a hotel and then got the official state welcome to the palace by carriage. And that's when they met the royals. Emily says, all it takes nowadays to locate the most eligible royal is a DNA test to see whether the pretender can match Edward III's blood DNA. Again, I go back to my earlier comment about the kingdoms are won and lost. So it doesn't always go back to DNA, because basically, you know, anybody could have been the first king if they'd have had a big enough army. All goes back to the army. Get yourself an army and you can be king or queen. Kimberly says, hello Elliot, have missed a lot of your live shows lately. Don't worry, welcome to this one, by the way. But if you have missed any, just go to my YouTube channel. In the playlist, there is a playlist of my live chats, and all of the live chats go on there, and you can watch them on catch up when it's a convenient time to suit you. The only thing you can't see is the comments, which I read out, and that's why I read them out, so that if people are watching on catch up, you get to hear the comment as well, even if you can't see it. HW says, hello Elliot from California, USA. You look quite dashing. Thank you very much. I can't cope with all these compliments. It's making me blush. Tim says, hello from Nashville. And Chris says, do the King and Queen of Spain sit down and talk? Do you mean with the royals, with the British royals? They do have a chance to do so, most definitely. Tim says, love the photos of the state visit. I did too. They were phenomenal. I especially love Princess Anne's curtsy. Tell me what you think about Princess Anne's curtsy. Linda says, dashing indeed. Thank you very much. Jamie says, Philip, not Felipe. So there you go. There's one. One Philip versus Felipe. Let the debate roll. Tim says he's very tall. Yes, I think the news was reporting 6'4". And the Duke of Edinburgh is known for being tall, but King Philippe towered over him, and of course towered over the Queen, who at around about 5 foot now is you know, a hell of a lot shorter. Deborah says, hi from MD, love the decorations. If you mean my royal standard, I bought that one out again this week. Tim's commenting on the flag too. No, I've just lost my chat window. Where's it got? Here it is. Pesky chat window. Kimberly says, have you ever done anything on the song God Save the Queen? Yes, once I sang it in one of the live chats. Don't know how well that went down. I haven't made a video on God Save the Queen. I'm not really sure that it really warrants a whole video to itself. Of course, when we do have King Charles or King George VII, as he may be known, the song will change to God Save the King. I hope we all know that. But for now, let's just enjoy God Save the Queen. Jamie says the Queen and Philippe were like Tom and Jerry. They were a bit. They did look a bit like that. Jenny says it's Felipe. So you are saying it correctly. There we go. We have a Philip versus a Felipe. Or is it just Philippe? I don't know. It's so confusing. I wish I could speak Spanish. Linda says, the royal standard. I want one. You can find them on Amazon. I bought mine on Amazon. It's really good quality. You can actually fly them outside and they will last many, many years. Of course, I use mine as a backdrop. But they're not that expensive. So go look on Amazon and you can buy one too. Nina says, why didn't the Queen drink the toast from the King of Spain? He looked surprised when she didn't. Perhaps she just didn't want any alcohol. Of course, to toast, you usually toast with alcohol. So that was probably her being just paying respect by having the alcohol. But if she felt at that time of the night that she didn't want to drink the alcohol, I suppose that's up to her and that's her choice. I don't think it was a diss at all. Tim says, so who is the next state visit? During the Queen's speech, she didn't mention any state visits, so I'm not entirely sure. Usually, with the Queen's speeches, they do mention the upcoming state visits, and she didn't mention any further ones, so I'm not entirely sure on that one. Steve says, the Queen has appointed 2 new ladies in waiting. I hadn't actually heard that, so that's news to me. I can make a video on that one, definitely. HW says, Elliot, do you know how tall King Felipe is? 6'4", I do believe. Linda says, it all looks stunning. They did indeed. And all the jewels, including the Spanish jewels as well, just looked amazing. Tim says the king was a giant, I would say about 6'5", 6'4". Chris says King Felipe is better than King Juan Carlos I. Did I say Juan Carlos? Correct. And of course, that is a matter of opinion. Okay, Candice says, the Queen seemed to really enjoy the King and Queen from Spain. Lots of very beautiful smiles on her face. It was a very happy visit, so I would agree there. Tim says, my wife said King Felipe was sexy. I just looked at her. Well, there you go. Another matter of opinion. Let me know what you think in the comments. Jamie says, do kings have ladies in waiting or something of the equivalent? They have their normal servants. They don't necessarily have ladies in waiting. They would have the usual office staff and equerries and all the normal staff that go with them, their personal servants, you know, press secretaries, all the usual staff, but not ladies in waiting. All the correspondence would be done possibly from the ladies in waiting as well. I think they are possibly shared because, of course, when I wrote to the Queen and Prince Philip, I got an answer, a reply jointly from them both. So I guess they deal with the whole lot. HW says, Tim, I agree with your wife. And Tim says, I said his wife was amazing. And then it says, hello from Pennsylvania. Everyone was so beautiful at the state dinners with Spain. Camilla's tiara was too big for her long, thin face, unless she would curl her hair to set off the bulk. I actually thought Camilla's tiara looked really good on her. She suits the really big pieces because she has the big hair. And of course, she does have a lot of the Queen Mother's collection of jewels. So I think they do suit her. Again, let me know what you think. It's a matter of personal taste and opinion. Candy says the king is 1.97 meters tall. I work in feet and inches, so that doesn't mean a lot to me. Was I right at 6'4"? H.A. Bracken says, do you think once Queen Elizabeth II dies that her journals will be made public? Yes, but not for a long time. I think there is a rule of how many years before things are made public. I think it's possibly 20 years. W07 Vauxhall says, who do you think will be King Charles? Who do you think will be King, Charles or William? And you met Paul Burrell at Princess Diana's butler once. Let's deal with the first part. I think, well, it's got to be Charles. Charles will be king. Unless he abdicates in favour of William, we will always have a King Charles or a King George VI, whichever he wants to call himself, first. Even if he's king for just 1 minute before signing an abdication, he will be king for that minute. So we will definitely have King Charles or King George VI, and then William. But I don't think there is any chance of an abdication. Robin says, Her Majesty usually called an equerry. Let's get on to the equerry because she is appointed a rather historic equerry this time round, and she has chosen her first black equerry. Now, to be honest, I don't really like raising it as an issue that she's appointed her first black equerry because, of course, it doesn't matter what colour the equerry is, but it is historic and important because he is the first. And of course, it's always important when something is the first. It's a landmark occasion and a big moment in equal rights and equality and black rights movement and all the rest of it. So that's why I think it's worth mentioning, although it doesn't really matter. But like I say, it is a landmark event. And he was personally appointed, which makes it even more special, I think. And of course, you know, the right person for the job usually always gets the job. So let's hope he has a really good time in that role. And I think he will be. He's got a really good track record. And I can see why the Queen did choose him. Hello to Elaine, who sent me a lovely bow. Annette says, Queen Elizabeth's tiara was stunning. I love the aquamarine, it's lovely. Betsy says, did you hurt your left eye? It looks a little red. Yes, I did hurt my eye. I have a little bit of conjunctivitis. For those of you who don't know, I do work in a school and I must have touched something and touched my eye and it is a little bit sore. But I don't worry, I'm on eye drops and it's a lot better than it was, trust me. Jamie says, hey Elaine. Linda says, is the weather still hot there? In the UK, it's on and off. Sometimes we have rain, then it's cloudy, then we have bursts of sun, then it's a bit humid. The weather's typical British weather all over the place. Jamie says, a person with bigger army and diplomacy always wins. I would agree. Tim says, Vauxhall, I watch your channel as well. I don't know, what videos does Vauxhall make? Deborah says, quite a little improper use of the palace for the kids' birthday party. And of course, I think you're meaning the Beckhams. What did I think about that? And was it right? Well, personally, we have to break it down and look at the facts. So, the Duke of York and Princess Anne and Prince Edward all have private apartments at the palace. And all of their apartments are situated at the front of the palace in Queen Victoria's nursery wing, which is the iconic wing that you can see, everyone can see, including the royal balcony. So that's the block where they all have private royal apartments. Now, if you know, in your own private home, you have the right to invite whoever you want. That's what happened. They invited the Beckhams to have Harper Beckham's birthday party in their private apartment. Now, that in itself is not wrong. It's not wrong to have a private birthday party held in your private home. And the royals themselves didn't make it public. They didn't post pictures. Nothing officially was released. So therefore, it was private from their point of view. However, the mistake was made, I do believe, by the Beckhams, because they then went and put a slew of photographs, very detailed photographs, all over social media. And I think that's where the mistake was made, because they made it public. So again, I think, you know, Sarah, Duchess of York, Princess Eugenie and Prince Andrew were dragged into a scandal. They were trying to, you know, be nice and help people, I think, and it just backfired because the Beckhams basically went to social media and blabbed. So on the one hand, they didn't do anything that they shouldn't have done. On the other hand, the Beckhams blabbed and made it look like there was something going on that possibly there wasn't. And I think that's my opinion on it, and those are the facts. And I think, you know, everyone can make up their own mind on that. Okay, Candice says, I can't remember the last time I saw Princess Anne curtsy. Well, you have now, and a very, very deep curtsy. Annette says, I had to do many catch-ups lately and really appreciate them. Princess Anne's curtsy was epic. It was indeed. It was very low. She looks like from a picture book fairy tale. The dress, it was a real fairy tale princess dress. You are correct. And she was wearing her festoon, I do believe, tiara. And she just looked amazing. She looked like a proper princess, which of course she is. But I'm talking about like the Disney type of princesses. Okay, Susan says, oh, hang on, I think I've missed a question. Tim says, so would the Queen have to curtsy to the Queen of Spain? I think the curtsies kind of cancel each other out when it's Queen v Queen. And I think also protocol is that if a Queen consort is with the King, that brings them up to the same kind of rank, so they don't have to, no. Susan says the King's name is Felipe. So I was right, it is Felipe. And Jamie says royal standards is upside down. Well, there you go. We have an upside. Well, maybe it's because I'm in Australia. I'm not in Australia. Van Aldel is saying it's Felipe. So there you go, I'm right again. And Janice says, I do speak Spanish, so just pronounce it like I told you. Felipe. Felipe. Philippe would be French. So there you go. Philippe is French, Philip is English, and Felipe is Spanish. Elaine says, I know Prince Philip's retiring, but will he still do the state visit when President Trump arrives next year? No, I believe this was his last state visit, unless, of course, he wants to take part in little bits of it. So officially, no, but we still might see him. Basically, the palace did say that he would pick and choose what he wants to do. So you'll probably see him, but not. He doesn't have to do it, I think, is the key issue. So we may see Charles at the Queen's side, or indeed William, possibly. Annette says, I agree, Deborah. Such poor taste and obviously not working by the Yorks may be a stepping stone for business deals. Again, it gives that impression, but it was technically a private party. Sean says, greetings from Canada. Enjoy your videos. Keep up the great work. Thank you very much. And thank you for watching. And thank you everyone for your likes and your thumbs up that you give me and your comments. It really does help. Elaine says, not sure if it's definitely President Trump's visit though. It's been earmarked, I think, for next year. Candice says, I think the royal men would have butlers. Yes, there are butlers at the palace. Most definitely. but not the ones that you know how you see them in Downton Abbey where they dress you and all that kind of thing. They have a valet that dresses you. They don't do that anymore. Not that I'm aware of anyway. As far as I'm aware, they do dress themselves. But I think they do have their clothes laid out in today's world. Annette says, Elaine, Trump visiting would be cringeworthy. I apologise. Again, that's a matter of opinion. Kimberly says, the King of Spain is very handsome and his wife is very beautiful. How old are their children? I'm not sure of their ages. Jamie says, wonder if Trump will grab the Queen's hand really hard when shaking it like the French presidents. That would be awful. Yes, President Trump does have a habit of giving very long, hard, firm handshakes. But I don't think he will necessarily do that to the Queen. Well, at least one hopes not. But let's see, it'd be rather fun if he did. And good to see her face as well, because she does give very good facial expressions if she doesn't like something. Ohio says, really enjoyed your explanation of the Greville jewels. There's a whole collection of Greville jewels. Annette says, I'm sorry, he's such an embarrassment. HM, I'm sorry, he's such an embarrassment, rather. Elaine says, that's why I think the Queen will need Prince Philip with her if he does do a state visit. And Van Al says, 1.97 meters equals 6'5". So there you go. Officially, he is 6'5". That's very tall. Gail says, hi Elliot from Virginia. The King and Queen of Spain were lovely and thought Catherine looked great. Yes, she did look fabulous. And I loved her dress too. Her dress was very princessy. It had the little sleeves with the what they call puffs or little, you know, flowy bits. I don't know what they're called, but the sleeves were lovely. The back of the dress was lovely. It was very poofy. It had a train. She looked amazing. She looked like a princess too. So I did love the fashion. HW says, Elliot, did you notice the dark bruising under Prince Philip's eyes? The bruising is never a good sign. His eyes have been looking a little bit dark and bruised for a while now. If you go back in some of my videos a couple of months, his eyes have been looking a bit dark. And I think that's just, we have to put that down to age. I really do. Van Al says, Trump had better not squeeze Her Majesty's hand. We will see. He may try. He's not conventional. Kimberly says, Annette, I don't agree. But how the American press had acted on both foreign and visits is an embarrassment to you. Tim says, I have a feeling Trump's visit will be protested. I think there will be protests. I don't think there were any in France, were there? But I think in Britain there possibly will be. And yes, they may well fly the helicopter behind the palace. But of course, he does like a show, and he may still opt for the carriage regardless. H.A. Bracken says, can we not speculate about the visit by the current US president or have any discussion about it at this time? It may be a pertinent point though, because it may happen. Annette says, colour has no bearing on expertise. I completely agree. Although not many people of colour ride in the US. Of course, I can't comment on the US armed forces because I don't know too much about them. And you say probably because of expense and opportunity. Kimberly says, agree, H.A. Bracken. And Jamie says, well, I mean, it's not really your private home when it's owned by the country. It's private apartments. So, yes, it's a state house, but they do have private homes within it. And, you know, like anyone who has a home, they are entitled to have who they want in it. Just the same as Catherine and William are allowed to have who they want in their state-owned apartment at Kensington Palace. Or Harry is allowed to have Meghan privately at Nottingham Cottage at Kensington Palace. It's exactly the same. Catherine says, hello everyone, sorry I'm late, but glad to join in. Welcome to our chat. And Van Al says, yes, let's not, H.A. Bracken. Tim says, I worry about Prince Philip. I pray he makes it till the 70th wedding anniversary in November. And of course, It might be a good time to mention that this week was the 70th anniversary of the engagement, and I hope you saw that video too. Oh dear says, hi all, I'm late again. Sorry, what are the main topics today? The Spanish state visit is the main topic of the day. H.A. Bracken says, the Princess Royal looked like she was enjoying herself very much. I agree. And H.W. says, Prince Andrew and the Duchess of York embarrassed the Queen yet again. I left you a comment about that on the video. The Princess Royal has strong horsewoman's legs, so she can easily do a deep curtsy. Well, I'm sure that may have some bearing on how low you can go. Perhaps she'd be good at the what's it called, where you limbo. When you do limbo, that's what I'm thinking. You know, when you limbo underneath the pole. Can you imagine Princess Anne limboing underneath the pole with Camilla and Zara, who all have strong horsewomen's legs? Marador says, I didn't see Queen Letizia curtsy to the Queen. They don't have to, because it's kind of queen to queen, and the Queen was with Felipe at the time too. Kimberly says, I do not believe I could come close to the curtsy Princess Anne made. I believe I would have fell over. Strong legs. James says, the King is closely related to Prince Philip through his mother, Queen Sophia, and of course they all go back to descendants of Queen Victoria. Oh dear says, I think Trump's visit has been delayed a little on purpose, hoping he will not be president next year. Possibly more likely hoping that the furore has died down, I would probably speculate on. Jamie says, come on, it's hardly a private party when it's in Buckingham Palace. But it's the private apartments within Buckingham Palace, and it is one of their homes. So they are entitled to have who they would like there, unfortunately, whether people like that or not. So technically, nothing done wrong. But like I said, the fault, I do believe, is with the Beckhams for broadcasting it. Marador says, I love the flowers. Thank you very much. My lovely sunflower flowers this week. Betsy says, please remind me of the maker of your lovely vase with the flowers. Thank you. It's Emma Bridgewater. And you probably can't see it from here, but if you go to if you become one of my patrons on Patreon, you get to see behind the scenes sneak peeks of my set. And some of the photos I show you is what's this way. I have a unit and of course my console table, which has a collection of Emma Bridgewater pottery on, and some commemorative pieces too, royal pieces. So if you go over to Patreon, Patreon, and you become a patron, which is a channel supporter, then you get to see behind the scenes footage and exclusive rewards. And while we're on the subject, I've actually ordered my birthday postcard pictures that I'm going to be sending out to my $10 a month or over patrons. And I've actually got 2 to send out very, very soon, because there are 2 birthdays coming to my $10 a month subscribers, and that is to Thelma, so she'll be getting hers for her birthday, and for Carol. So Carol and Thelma, you're in my diary, and as soon as I receive my photographs, I will send them out, and they will be going to you, and they will be handwritten and signed by me. So I really hope you have an amazing birthday when you receive them, and I hope you get them in time. So if you become a patron on Patreon, $10 a month or over, you get a signed birthday card or photograph from me, which is very similar to what the Royals send out when you write to them. So I've kind of done it a bit like that. Okay, back to the questions. Betsy says, okay, I've done about the Emma Bridgewater. They do have a website, by the way, and I do believe they ship internationally. Annette Fernier says, yes, our equestrian toned legs are very strong, but a lot of the time the knees get trashed, but not so looking at Princess Anne. James says, in advance, as an American, please forgive us for Trump. Again, I can't possibly comment on that. Tim's done some research. Tim's really good on Google, and he says the King and Queen of Spain's children are 9 and 10. But Jenny said possibly 10 and 11. It's around that age bracket. Steve says, what titles are considered part of the aristocracy? It's things like Duke, Earl, Marquis, Lord, Lady, Baron. Well, I said Earl, haven't I? Yeah. So those are the aristocratic titles. And if you have one of those titles, you will be considered part of the aristocracy. HW says the Prince of Wales, or Bonnie Charlie as you've put, still is dressed each morning by his manservant. I'm not sure they actually physically dress him. I think they still lay out the clothes. But of course I could research that and see. Maybe they help him on with his jacket. I can't see them doing his buttons up. I really can't. And if it does, then I'm very surprised. Deborah says, I hope Trump doesn't. His handshakes are epic. Epically long. Jamie says, you said Queen Letizia looks like a princess. Isn't that an insult? Did I say that she looks like a princess? I think I meant Princess Anne looked like a princess. And Catherine looked like a princess. Letizia did look like a queen. But of course, all the royal ladies looked a little bit like Disney princesses with their dresses. You know, the big poofy outskirts. Kind of Princess Diana wedding dress, you know, very Disney princess. Kimberly says he doesn't shake hands with women that way. Remember, he had shaken lots of women's hands, including Theresa May. Maybe that's when did Angela Merkel refuse him a handshake? I can't remember. Vanel says, I wonder why all men who are in the room with royals hold their hands in front of themselves. Do you think they're instructed to? I don't object, of course, but it's done so often. Prince Philip often has his hands behind his back when he's out on engagements. When I think about it, I think when I stand, I hold my hands in front too. I think it's just part of etiquette. Annette says, Catherine would look great in a potato sack. She's just beautiful. Well, of course, she has the figure to carry off pretty much anything. Jamie says, but they aren't like anyone who has a home. It's a completely different situation when your home is in the national interest. And I think we will have to leave that debate there. Like I said, the facts are private apartments within Buckingham Palace, and they are entitled to have who they want. And I think the Beckhams made a mistake in blabbing. But of course, we all have our own opinions. And I think a lot of people have voiced their opinions on that matter. And I think we should definitely park it there. HW says, oh dear, you are saying things that are not true. You are not being very diplomatic in an English chat. Oh no. And Cease Keepman says, Leonor, Princess of Austria, is 11 years old, and the Infanta Sofia of Spain is 10. Kimberly says, Catherine does look lovely in most things that she wears. Just wish she would gain back some weight she lost when she was first dating Prince William. She did lose some weight. And I agree. I believe that if you're too skinny, it doesn't look, you know, as good as maybe just being a healthy weight. Vanal says, if you recall, Prince Philip's mother had dark circles and shadows around her eyes. I noticed that many people who are of Greek heritage have the same dark circles. It could be genetic. I think it's mostly age-related. Jamie says, Camilla has strong horse legs. Well, she does indeed. And HW says, Princess Anne is an epic limbo competitor. I would love to see Royal Limbo. Shall we campaign for Royal Limbo? My vote is on Camilla. Oh dear says, the limbo idea is a hoot. I can see a skit by Tracy Ullman. We shall suggest it to her. Tracy, if you're watching this video, please do a limbo video of Camilla, Princess Anne, and Zara and the Queen, please. I will even be in it myself. You can dress me up as whoever you want. Jamie says, I don't think I would like to have a chatter with Anne. She seems boring and dry. I think she's very much in personality like Prince Philip. So probably quite witty underneath how she appears. Betsy says, I become a patron under Elizabeth O'Farrell. The best money spent. Thank you so much. And again, thank you to all my patrons who support the channel. It does enable me to further the channel. And of course, the more support I get, the more videos I can make, the more time I can have to make them, the more places I can go on location to shoot some real vlog footage of events. Of course, I'm still going to London in August, so I'll be able to, spend some of that Patreon money there, going into places like Buckingham Palace, Kensington Palace, Westminster Abbey, filming what I can and reporting back to you guys. So everything gets put back into the channel, which is the whole idea of Patreon. And of course, you don't just give, you also receive with Patreon, because you get exclusive access to Facebook groups, behind the scenes footage and photos and comments on Patreon itself. If you're a $10 a month or over subscriber, you get birthday cards and Christmas cards as well. So not just a birthday card, you will also get a Christmas card at Christmas. So it's really good. And I'm also working on merchandise for the channel too. So during my 6 weeks off, I will be looking at things that you can buy, which will be amazing. And possibly some of them could become rewards too for patrons. Annette says, chatter with Princess Anne, as she's very intelligent. I think she'll be interesting. I do too. Jamie says, does Baron Trump count? No. Oh dear says, do you think Trump named his younger son Baron with a nod to aristocracy, or his love for a baron of beef? I just think he likes it because it sounds aristocratic. And of course, Beyonce, didn't she call one of her new children Sir Carter? Perhaps it's spreading. Jamie says, I would have nothing in common with Anne. You don't know, you might. Jamie says his love of beef Trump steak. Now, I think I've missed a few comments, so I'm going to go back down. Loretta says, I thought when asked Prince Philip said he was Danish. Well, he was a prince of Greek, but his heritage could have links to the Danes. Of course, the aristocrats and the British royals are very European spread, going back to kind of Victoria's day and before. Vanal says, Baron is a cute kid, just a little spoiled. Kimberly says, Elliot, I think you have done a video in the past about titles, but could another? I'm still confused on who is higher on the British titles. I could do another video, yes. HW said, Queen Letizia is considered to be the most beautiful and stylish queen of all the European royal houses. Princess Catherine will give her a run for her money. Well, of course, Catherine, the Duchess of Cambridge, isn't a princess in her own right. She's technically a Princess William of Wales, but not a Princess Catherine. But the Duchess is very beautiful, and of course she did hold up the British end well, as did Princess Anne. I think she held up the end amazingly too. Steve says, could you do a video on Prince Philip's parents? I'd love to know more about them. I mean, that's one sort of line I haven't looked that much into, but I could do, when I've got a lot more time in the summer, I could certainly do a lot more of these ad hoc videos rather than current news events. My list is huge of different things I would love to do, and when I have more time to do them, I will. Annette says, oh, I think she would find something to make you comfortable. Her Majesty, it's part of her social grace. I like her style. I do too. Jamie says, King, Queen, Duke, Duchess, Earl, Countess, Lord, and Baron. Yes, they are all aristocratic titles. Jenny says, I think you are right, Elliot. Princess Anne is quite witty and indeed much like her father, as is Zara, and I think Harry has a touch of that personality trait too. Candice says, Queen Letizia is beautiful. There are so many beautiful queens and princesses in the world. So true. Maradol says, I'm excited for my London trip. I am too. It's going to be amazing. Interestingly enough, I still haven't actually booked the hotel, but I'm definitely going. Jamie says, it's not like I won't just say I don't like you if I met her. but she's not the greatest fun in my opinion. I still want to meet Princess Michael of Kent. I think she'd be a hoot. Oh dear says, the train into London is expensive and entrance to exhibits are pricey too. I don't have a PayPal account, so not sure how to join. I think if you're confident in putting your card details, I think they accept card details and also PayPal. That's Patreon. If you have, not sure. If you could get, if anyone wants to make just a donation without even joining Patreon, you can make a PayPal donation directly to myself, and the link is on every single video that I make. It's also on the channel information too, so do check that out. But Patreon is really good because you get cool free stuff too, so you actually get something back. So and also it's kind of becoming part of the community. So if I think you can join Patreon with a card and also PayPal, so do check that out. HW says, Elliot, isn't the British title system directly tied to how the amount of land tied the title? It's based on the old kind of feudal system, if you like, where land was all kind of chopped up, and for example, dukes or lords would have portions of land and they would kind of manage it, and they would manage the farmers and the towns on those lands. So yes, it is basically. But of course, it developed, until we've got our government today. But some of the titles still obviously exist, and some people like the Duke of Norfolk, Duke of Westminster, still hold huge tracts of land, but without any direct power over the people and that kind of thing. Jamie says, Wild Rory is spotted. I think it was Rory. I did feel a cat whiz by my feet. Kimberly has also spotted one of the royal cats. I think it was Rory. Their food is directly behind me, so they're straight there. Oh dear says, I see a kitty waving a majestic tail. Can you hold him or her to the camera? I think they've gone. I think they've gone now. Yeah, they've gone. I've got to the comment too late. Sorry. If they come again, I will grab them. Van Al says, hello kitty. I can't see which one it is. All you can see was the tail. I think it was definitely Rory, I think. Jamie says, I think kings don't have the same majesty as queens, regnant. They always appear more grand and classic. Elaine says, Princess Margaret was beautiful. As a child, I thought she was a film star. She did have that air about her. Very charismatic. Odia says, thanks. I will look into joining. You'll be very welcome. H.K. Bracken says, on YouTube, there are a lot of old newsreels on British Pathé and British. Yes, I love them. And I do really like the way that they are voiced and narrated too. It's very old school, very BBC English, very clipped. Kind of like Queen Mary. Queen Mary went to the event today. Queen Mary at Buckingham Palace spoke aloud. It's very much very clipped, very, very posh. I can kind of do the accent. What do you think? Did I do the accent? Let me know. Or did it sound terrible? People saying the carriage procession looked amazing on the Mall. It did indeed, and of course they rehearsed it. And if you watched my video of the rehearsal, which is quite interesting because you get to see the real thing and the rehearsal and how they compare. Jamie says, is the Queen half a Philip's height? Pretty much. Well, no, that would make him 10 foot. He's definitely not 10 foot. He's not the BFG, but he's, she's a lot smaller, shall we say. Her stature is smaller, but she still packs a punch. Okay, I appear to have actually caught up with the comments. And I'm going to sneeze. Oh no. Okay, I avoided a sneeze. When you gotta sneeze, you gotta sneeze. So let me go to my list because I think Let me see what we haven't spoken. The Duchess of Cambridge. She was this week at the Natural History Museum, opening up a new whale exhibit, shall I say. It's the blue whale, and it's a whale skeleton, and it's replaced the dinosaur that was in the main hall. When I went last, which is a couple of years ago now, and of course I wasn't doing my channel at the time, so I didn't film anything, but I saw the old dinosaur skeleton, and I saw the blue whale being constructed in a different part of the museum. But now it's there, it's up, and the Duchess opened it, and she revealed that Prince George and Charlotte very much like history, and they very much like the British History Museum. If you've not been, do go. I would advise it. Perhaps don't go in the school holidays. It was very, very busy when I went. But it is an amazing place, and if you've got children, it's really good for them too. It's very accessible. So do go and see the blue whale. Let me know what you thought of those pictures. It looked very atmospheric in there because it was dark, and the whale was all lit up beautifully. So it looked amazing. Let me know what you think. Prince Harry also went to the Dunkirk film premiere this week and met Harry Styles and Tom Hardy amongst a plethora of stars. And Prince Harry, I like the fact that Prince Harry met Harry, two very famous young men. Which Harry do you like the best? Let me know. And of course I made a video as well about Zara and Mike Tyndall, very much in love, showing very public displays of affection at the Wimbledon, at the tennis. I'm just going to go up and read some chats. So Betsy says, this week's chat is so delightful. Last week was too cranky. We had a few disturbances last week. And in fact, if you go back to last week's chat on YouTube, I named that video my Noctis Horribilis. And of course, we know what an Annus Horribilis is. It means a terrible year. Noctis Horribilis is terrible or horrible night. And of course, I wasn't speaking about everybody. There was just a few that made it a Noctis Horribilis. Jamie says, Queen, greetings, Philip. Oh, the Queen greeting Felipe. How are you? You're up there. Oh yeah, of course he would be. Well, she would have to look like this, wouldn't she, to see him? H.A. Bracken says it's a very posh accent on the old clips. It is indeed very BBC English, I think we say. HW says, Elliot, you have a great voice. I always watch your videos until the end so I can hear your signature sign off. And from me in Shropshire, goodbye is one of them. There you go. Jenny says, Catherine apparently had speech lessons to sound more posh. Maybe you could too, if it interests you. Do I need? Shall I try and talk posh all the way through from now on? I don't know. Let's see how posh I can talk all the way through. Shall I try and sound very passe, very clipped? Candice says, the Queen is 5'4". Everyone in the entire world seems taller than me. Indeed, and I'm only 5'7" myself. Oh no, I slipped out of the voice. That's terrible. Kimberly says, did they release recipes of the meals? I think I included the guest list, and I think I did put a menu. Did I put a menu on one of my videos? I'm sure I found a menu. Go back to the banquet video. I'm sure I put a menu. Do go check. Steve says, I think they should have kept Dippy the dinosaur. Dippy has been there for ages, and I think they just wanted something new. I'm sure has Dippy been moved? I don't know if he's actually been moved or not. Odia says, I would be interested in learning more about the Duchy of Cornwall and all the benefits and privileges afforded to Charles. Of course, a very important estate and inheritance for the heir to the throne. And I could make a video on that too. There's so much I could make videos on. Jamie says, Queen Victoria was 5'2". Candice says, still taller than me. HW says, I thought Queen Victoria was 4'9". Maybe in older age she lost some height. People do. Amy says, why does the Queen bother to pay taxes? I would just saying not. I know it's because the winds of fire, but why does she bother? I think before the fire, she was already in discussions to pay tax along with Charles. That's income tax. So although technically she doesn't have to, it's more tokenistic that she does, to say, well, you know, everyone else pays tax, I'm going to too. You know, we're all in this together. We all pay tax. We all contribute. So it is tokenistic. She doesn't have to, but I think if she didn't, it would cause more fuss than just paying it anyway. Kimberly says, I had one set of grandparents that were like Tom and Jerry. Grandma was 4'10" and Grandpa was 6'2". Elaine says, whoops, missed that. Who was showing affection at Wimbledon? Zara and Mike. I made a video on it. They were very touchy-feely. So go and check that video out. You have to see it to believe it, really. I mean, very, very, very touchy-feely. Kimberly says, and even though your grandma was short, she ruled the roost. Okay, I think I missed a few questions. Let's go on. Oh dear says, we have such a lot of huge dinosaur exhibits in the Royal Tyrrell here in Alberta, Canada. Well worth a visit. Caroline says, hi Elliot, a little late, don't worry. We still have some time left, don't worry. And of course you can watch on catch up. James said, you sound lovely. Thank you very much. I'm not sure I like the sound of my own voice. Annette says, Mike looks so bored and Zara so sweet. Yeah, she was really cuddly and expressive towards it. James says, oh, you look taller than 5'7". That's a bit small. Vertically challenged. Small but packs a punch, just like the Queen. Oh dear says, yes, you did put a menu on. I thought I did. And you're saying it was beef medallions was in the main course. I can't remember exactly what it was, but I know that I included a menu. So go back to that video and check. Kimberly says, I missed it, oh dear. Betsy says, you're hilarious. The posh voice, stay in your own perfect voice. Nancy says, hello Elliot, missed a few live chats. Are you getting excited about your approaching vacation? And yes, I still need to book the hotel, but don't worry, I did check last week that there were still vacancies, and there are. So I just need to book it, and then it's all complete. And I'm also going to pre-book the tickets for the Palace as well. Annette says, this was a lovely chat. But you have to go now because you have to feed your troops before they revolt. And then you'll be overthrown and you won't be queen anymore. Elaine says, I really enjoy seeing the menus. It's always nice to know what the other half eat, isn't it? Lisa says, Elliot, please don't speak that way. Love your normal voice. Thank you. Kimberly says, what is the most expensive necklace in the royal family? They don't have values attached to them per se. Probably the most valuable, I would say, the one that we've seen Camilla wear previously was, I think it's a 5 or 6 strand collet necklace. They're very large diamonds. So I would imagine if I had to put a value, that would be up there. Of course, there are a lot of tiaras that can be converted into necklaces too. They're definitely up there. Probably one of the most valuable jewels the Queen wears is probably not a necklace, it's probably a brooch. And that is the Cullinan brooch, which is the huge diamond that she often wears. And she wears it for very important occasions. And she wore it most notably at her Diamond Jubilee. I think did she wear it on the pageant, on the river pageant? But it's a big, huge diamond, and it's from the big, massive African diamond that was mined. Part of that diamond is now in the crown, and also in the Queen Consort's crown. Okay, David says, what is the Queen's worth? It is estimated at around about £380 million, I do believe, because they don't count all the treasures and jewels that are held for the nation. So personal wealth is around about £380 million. Jamie says, imagine if the Queen invited all the people in the chat to a sit-down dinner at the palace. That would be amazing. If anyone's watching, please invite all of us to the palace. I like that idea. Nina says, I like the menu too. What did you think of Catherine's dress? It was really low in the front. It was probably the most low cut we've seen her in, but I loved the colour and it was very princessy and beautiful. The most princessy I think we've seen her. It reminded me a little bit of Princess Diana, how she used to wear the kind of puff sleeves in her dresses. So I thought it looked very stunning. And there was also a bit of a train as well. So I really enjoyed that. Jamie says, what hotel are you staying in? And also, should I pre-book tickets? I'm not going to say which hotel I'm thinking of. I don't think that's, in terms of safeguarding, that's not very good to perhaps broadcast on the internet. But I will be booking the hotel soon. And it is very central. I will say that. Elaine says, I do remember seeing Zara and Mike. Wonder who in the royal family will be at the men's Wimbledon finals. Possibly William. William is into tennis too. Betsy says, is Meghan in the UK? The last I heard, she was in Canada filming Suits. So whether she's over now, I haven't heard. Although Harry did look very happy today, so maybe that says something. Kimberly says, do you have a copy of that brooch? Which one? The Clinian? No, I don't. And I'm not sure there is one. I will have to Google that. But I would like one if there is. If I find one, I will definitely get it. Candice says, I love the coronation necklace and earrings. The diamonds are huge. Possibly as well, the Queen Victoria Jubilee necklace is, I think, quite valuable too. James says, the Queen's diamond brooch she wore for her Jubilee, yes, is breathtaking. Odia says, how do they determine what jewels will be worn and by whom? Usually it goes with outfits. So, for example, if the Queen's wearing day wear, she will have a selection of brooches brought to her, which she chooses herself, and she pins them on herself too. For state occasions, I think it's pretty much like rotation. So she'll wear one on one occasion and then perhaps choose another. She has her favourites. I think she's worn the Vladimir to many state banquets and the girls of Great Britain as well. She's also worn the Burmese ruby in recent years, and the aquamarine was a nice refreshing change. Jamie says, the necklace the Queen was wearing was bought in Primark for £4. I don't believe you. Oh dear says, the Queen owns the McDonald's at Windsor. Had a laugh when I learned that she is well diversified. I didn't know that she owned the McDonald's at Windsor. Does she have her name above the door? Oh. Does she have a burger named after her? The McWindsor, the the McQueen. What else? Oh, okay. Think of something McDonald's related that's also a royal crossover. I don't know. The McPhilip Nugget. The Queen Flurry. Okay, there's loads of these different things. Jamie says, I didn't think about the hotel that way, sorry. Jamie says, but should I pre-book tickets too? I think it's a good idea to pre-book the tickets because if you want, for example, a particular slot that you need to book, I think they run different slots throughout the day. I personally would probably want an early slot so that I could spend as long as I wanted to going around the gardens. I think you have the tour first, where you go around the palace, and then you're allowed into the grounds where you can have afternoon tea on the Queen's Terrace, and you can wander around the gardens, I do believe. So, of course, I want longer to wander around the gardens. So if I go early, I've got longer to wander around. At least I hope so. I hope there's not a time limit on the visit. If there's not, then I can spend ages in the garden, filming in the garden too. But I would book. I think that's a good idea to book. Kimberly says, I think I heard that the Queen owns property in the US. There was a rumour ages ago that she'd bought an apartment. and I don't think it's true. We haven't heard anything in the UK, so I think that was a false story. Jamie says, what do you think are the top 5 things to see in London? In my opinion, the top 5 things to see in London would be Buckingham Palace, the London Eye, Tower of London, Westminster Abbey, and one more, let's think, and Kensington Palace. There you go. That's probably the top royal based things, I would say. The London Eye is not royal, but you can see a lot from it. So that would be a good one, regardless of whether you're into the royal family or not. Betsy says, is there a book one can buy on the royal jewels? I have a fabulous book on the royal jewels, not the crown jewels, but it's called the Queen's Diamonds. It's a massive book. The pictures are stunning, and it goes through a lot of the Queen's diamond jewellery. And it's fabulous. It tells you a lot about the history of the jewels. And it's available from the official Buckingham Palace website. Jamie says, Lizzie McDonald's. HW says, McQueenies. Kimberly says, does the Queen own any jewellery with the Oregon Sunstones? They are really rare. I'm not sure. I can't say yes or no because I'm not entirely sure. James says, yes, it's called the Queen's Jewels. I think it's called the Queen's Diamonds. The book that I'm on about is called the Queen's Diamonds, and it was released during the Diamond Jubilee. Jamie says, there's a cafe at the back of the palace too. There is. Nina says, yes, a garden video would be great. Jamie says, we all know when there's no activity for a week that you're lost in the gardens, maybe in the Waterloo Vase. I would love to get lost in the Queen's Gardens and stay there. Can I take a tent and camp out, or something like that? I'd love to stay. HW says, Elliot, I understand that the Queen is worth 37 trillion. No, definitely not. With all of the land and holdings and jewellery. If you counted everything that's held in trust for the nation, she would probably be the richest individual in the world, I imagine. But you don't count the treasures that are held on behalf of the nation as her personal wealth. So if you're counting everything, then yes, she'll be worth an awful lot of money. But if you're talking personal wealth, it's round about 380 million, which is still a lot of money. She's not short of a few bob. Elaine says, to add non-royal, I would say the Tower of London, Natural History Museum, Natural Portrait Gallery, Carnaby Street and surrounding area, West End Theatre. There is so much to do in London, you can't mention everything. And of course, it depends on your own personal top 5, what you're into. James says, can you hire a private tour guide in London? Yes, I think so, but the bus tours are perfectly acceptable and accessible. I do like the bus tours. One thing I didn't like about the bus tours when I went last was, I went years and years and years ago when I was about 12, and every single bus tour had a person on the top with a microphone speaking to you. They have since cut those back. So there are still some of the London bus tours that have a person with a microphone talking to you. But a lot of them have these headphones that you put on, and you can listen to pre-recorded things as you drive round in different languages, so you can choose your language. So I can see why they've done it, but to me it wasn't as personal. So I always made sure I got on the buses which had the live person, because that's part of the fun of having the bus tours, is that you have a real person with personality talking to you and conversing and telling you ad hoc things about the things that you pass. So I would recommend the buses, but I would say make sure you go on the ones that have got the live person on there, because they do make it special. And of course, you don't necessarily get that driving around in a taxi. A private tour guide would be good, but I don't think it's necessary when you can get on the routes, and you can also use the buses to get around. You can use it as your mode of transport as well. So I would highly recommend them. I went on one called the Big Bus Tour, and that was really good. Carrie says, the Memorial in Hyde Park, the Rose Garden in Regent's Park, Houses of Parliament, Spitalfields Market, and the Victoria and Albert are some of my top choices. There are so many things. Johan says, good luck, Majesty. Dawn says, H, what did I miss? Catch me up. Just kidding. Oh my goodness, I think I've missed a few comments. Odia says, your top 5 are great. I really enjoyed the theatre district in the evenings, but plays and Kew Gardens were fantastic. Elaine says, Tower of London is royal. It is indeed. Betsy says, Churchill's war rooms are worth seeing while in London. Carrie says, surely there is a banker somewhere who is worth more than 37 trillion. I don't know. Elaine says, I agree, Carrie. Jamie says, hey, Dawn, you missed Elliot doing a handstand and a cartwheel. Yes, I did. Scroll back to see. Carrie says, can we ask Elliot to do it again? I missed it too. Okay, I didn't do a cartwheel. That's a lie. Jamie's a prankster. Carrie says, did Elliot's bow tie stay in place during the cartwheel? Very impressed. Of course, everything was immaculate. My hair stayed in place too. In fact, I bounced off my hair. Jamie laughed. Steve says, would Harry and William have had a large insurance payout when Diana died? I don't think insurance payment, but they certainly had her inheritance. And of course, she just had a big divorce settlement from Charles. So all of that money did go to the princes. Carrie says, I feel I'm being very naughty to Elliot's fab commentary. I'll try to concentrate more. Don't worry, have fun. Carol says, hello, Elliot. Glad to get here today. Well, hello and welcome. Kimberly says, the property and jewellery that is considered owned by the state, why is it owned by the state instead of the Queen? Because the Royal Collection and the Royal Collection Trust it's all treasures that are owned by the state, technically. So it's not her personal belongings. And it's the same with all the Crown Estate as well. That is technically not owned by the monarch anymore. Well, it is owned by the monarch, but not counted because of the deal that was done a long time ago to give money from the government to the monarch to survive. And of course, that's changed now to the sovereign grant. So whilst that agreement is still in place, it's technically owned by the Queen, but not counted as, because it's on behalf of the nation. It is fairly complicated, probably in a legal way, but that's the way it goes, and it's not counted as her personal wealth, and it hasn't been for many years. Back in the early 90s, it was counted, and then the Sunday Times Rich List stopped counting it, and ever since then, it's not really been counted. But yes, I agree with Jamie. Let's just say she doesn't need coupons. HW says, Elliot, how long have you kept your beard? And what is your favourite ice cream? And what's my favourite colour? Okay, 3 questions. Let's start with the beard. I think I've had stubble for probably 10 years. But probably a beard like this, probably about 4 years. I'd say 4 years I've had it. And it's been various lengths. I think once it was kind of down here. Favourite ice cream? Oh, I think I'm into salted caramel at the moment, Haagen-Dazs. But I do like strawberry and vanilla. And I like the big Mr. Whippy cones with the flake in. I don't know if you get them abroad, but in the UK, they're very nice. And my favourite colour, I would say, is blue. Jamie says, that's enough money to buy 1,000 chicken nuggets in Lizzie's McDonald's. Lizzie Max. What about Lizzie? A Lizzie Mac burger. Jamie says, Elliot's variety performance. I love my own variety performance. Elaine says, I've had a giggle about the bow tie staying in place. Carrie says, you're not appealing to my desires. It's not chicken nuggets. Jamie says, what about Prince Philip fries? That's a tongue twister. Prince Philip fries. Say that really fast. Prince Philip fries. 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 Oh no, I said Prince Philip flies. There you go. James says, will you be doing special coverage on Diana's 20th anniversary and the statue the Princes commissioned? I'm not sure the statue will be ready in time. I think they commissioned it a little bit too late. I'm thinking it may be in place next year. But yes, I will be doing something around the anniversary of her death. Carrie says, can I just say the V&A looks fab? I went yesterday and loved it. I didn't go last time I was in London, but I really want to. HW says, Carrie, shape up, you're headed for the tower. Steve says, what would happen if the Queen lost or broke something owned by the nation? If she personally did, I'd be surprised, but I don't think anything would come of it. Nothing could be done. I mean, how could you replace a treasure? You can't exactly go and buy a new one. It would probably have to be repaired or restored. Jamie says, Prince Philip's eyes are usually black, though. They are, I think it's age related, but it hasn't stopped him taking part in the state visit. Jamie says, when would we find out if a member of the royal family had cancer? Well, I would imagine there would be lots of hospital visits if one did, which they would probably announce. I mean, let's say they announced Catherine's extreme morning sickness. So if there was something really, really untreatable, I think they would probably announce it. Of course, they tend not to release information on health. Prince Philip's previous health stayed in hospital haven't had an official announcement about what they were. So I think things would keep fairly stum unless something was, unless it was something he wasn't going to get better from. Let's put it that way. Carrie says, HW, that sounds like an interesting threat. Kimberly Stevens says, you should try butter pecan ice cream. It's so yummy. I've never tried that. Carrie says, I really hope Elliot doesn't read that comment. Which comment was it? Jamie says, I like the big Mr. Whippy with a flake. Welcome to a royal chat. I think we should all get them for the chat. HW says, Carrie, I'd love to be locked in the tower overnight, and me. I'd love to stay in the room where Elizabeth I was held. Apparently she has inscribed in the stone her name or some kind of inscription, and I think in the window pane as well. Deborah says, when is the statue unveiling? There has been no announcement that it's even been finished yet. So I will bring you that news when I come to it. HW says, ghost hunting in the tower. Is it on your bucket list? I'd like to do that. But yes, I would need more than one person. Jamie says, is the Queen's health national security? Yes. Carrie says, Elliot, I would love to join the Fab Heads Together comedy night, but the tickets are very expensive. Why? I think they're expensive to raise lots of money. I think that's the whole point of it. Of course, it would be nice if there was some cheaper tickets so that normal people could go. It does kind of price out normal people with normal budgets. But if it's going to raise lots of money, who are we to argue? Elaine says, I would be too scared to stay in the tower overnight, but I'd love it if there was a group. Wouldn't that be so good? Betsy says, you can just sleep over in the tower. Wow, my goodness, I didn't know that. Perhaps we'll have to look into it. Wouldn't that be good for a royal reviewer meet and greet, sleepover in the tower? James says, Princess Charlotte is a mini queen more and more. And Carrie says, HWOIC for ghost hunting night could be fun. It could indeed. C's Keaton says, here's Hugh Roberts, the author of The Queen's Diamonds. I can't remember the author. I'll take a photo of the book after the chat and I'll put it on Twitter. I'll put it on Twitter. So Royal Reviewer on Twitter. Nina says, I'd love it. Carrie says, thanks, Betsy. I think I will look into it. Very atmospheric. Kimberly says, question, who is the most handsome male royal and who is the most beautiful female royal? I think the most handsome male royal at the moment, in terms of the British royal family, is probably Prince Harry. And who is the most beautiful female? I would probably say Catherine or Sophie. Phoebe D says, why does Princess Anne only have a title Princess Royal and everyone else has a title accompanied with a region or a province? Well, the Princess Royal is a very special title in its own right. So that's why. So she's Princess Anne, the Princess Royal. It is a very historic, important title in its own right. So it's not a case of just the Princess Royal. It's a very important title anyway. So I don't think she's going to sniff at that title. HW says, Carrie, I know just who we're looking for in the tower. It would be amazing. Marjorie would love to have that book. Betsy said, my friend did it a few years ago and she hopes they still offer it. I do too. Wouldn't that be great? Yes, I would love to do a tower sleepover. Jamie says, the Queen's Jewels is another good one. You have that one. So there you go. Have a look for that one, possibly on Amazon. Carrie says, Prince Philip, I admire the amazing relationship that he and the Queen have. I think we all do. It's a very, very, very special relationship. Oh, did you see the video about Prince Charles meeting a woman that looked very much like Camilla? And for a moment when I saw the photographs, I thought it was her. It's not actually a Camilla lookalike sort of trying to be Camilla, but it's just a woman that looks like Camilla. And I was fooled for a split second. I thought, oh, Camilla's had a haircut. But she looks very, very, very much like Camilla. What did you think of that video? There was also news this week that sales of bright colours have shot up in UK shops due to the Queen's bright colours that she wore at Royal Ascot. And of course, I am guilty of the same trend. I went and bought lots of brightly coloured tops and I posted pictures of those, exclusive pictures, on Patreon. So if you're a member of Patreon, if you're a patron of Royal Reviewer Patreon, you will see a collection of my bright clothes. And I also put them in a video too. So yes, I'm guilty. I was inspired as well to go out and buy bright colours. Did you? Let me know if the Queen's wardrobe inspired you. Carol says, Princess Royal was the eldest daughter of a reigning monarch. Princess Charlotte could be Princess Royal one day too. She could indeed, but only whilst if the title is available. Van Al says, most handsome British royals are Harry and Catherine in my opinion, but the Queen radiates beauty as well. Of course, she has her own timeless elegance. Marjorie says, to think there's a lot of tiaras we haven't seen for decades. Who have the right to put it up for auction? Of course, the ones that are owned by the Queen and passed down, passed down from Queen to Queen or monarch to monarch, are not going to be put up for auction. The Queen Victoria one that was put, the sapphire one, was passed down, inherited down the female line out of the royal family. So they had the right, sadly, to put it up for auction. I don't believe it's right, but they did have the right to do it, and hopefully it will stay in the UK. Kimberly says, to me, Prince Harry does remind me of Henry the, I think you put 7th, but I think you mean 8th, when he was a young man. In fact, I made a reference in the latest polo video of Harry and William playing polo, which is the last video I just put out. No, the one before, second to last. And I did make a comment that on one of the shots of Harry riding the horse, it looks almost like I would imagine a young Henry VIII to have looked like jousting. And I did make that comment. Let me know what you think. Kimberly says, to me, oh, I've read that one. Jamie says, I suppose Queen's Ascot colours did inspire. You bought mint green shorts. There you go. And I'm still looking for a top in mint green too. Dawn says, did you match up your shirts with the brooches the Queen was wearing in your video? Um, I think I should. And of course, I've worn a bright pink today. This is one of the tops that I bought that I was inspired by. I teamed it with the flower basket brooch because it has pinks in it, and I thought it went well. Oh dear says, I like the bright colour effect the Queen has had on fashion. I like your new bright summer wardrobe. Very cheerful. Thank you. Deborah says, yeah, that was so funny. And the Camilla lookalike. I loved your colourful shirts. I did see that. Will you wear them just for summer or year round? Of course I'll wear them for summer and into winter too. Somebody says, yes, Elliot, he does. Harry is looking in the looks department. He is indeed. And on that note, I'm going to conclude tonight's chat. It's been a fabulous chat. It's not been a noctis horribilis. I'm going to have to find a new Latin inscription for a joyous chat, because it really has been joyous and my faith has well and truly been restored. And I hope you've all had a really fabulous time. I know I have. Go and check out Royal Reviewer on Patreon, Patreon, and become a patron. Get exclusive rewards and behind the scenes sneak peeks. And until next time, I hope you have a fabulous week. And from me in Shropshire, goodbye.